So it's Thanksgiving, and since my last holiday special did so well, I figured I would make another one. You know what I'm thankful for this year? Besides you guys, of course, I'm thankful for my favorite Thanksgiving movie, Spider-Man.
Are you on crack? If so, where did you get it?
No, I'm not on crack. I'm on a drug that's called Sam Raimi. Oh, Sam, you incredible son of a bitch. I consider Spider-Man the perfect Thanksgiving movie for one reason, one scene, one perfect scene, one stupidly, superbly subtle scene, this scene. This small scene that lasts only 5 minutes is such a perfect example of great screenwriting and fantastic direction. Let's take a look at it. So to understand why this scene works, you need to understand that every character in this scene is attempting to protect something. Peter attempts to protect his secret, Norman attempts to protect his good non-goblin side. Harry attempts to protect his image of Norman and earn his father's respect and love. Aunt May attempts to protect the childhood innocence that goes along with Thanksgiving, and Mary Jane attempts to protect herself. We start the sequence off with Norman coming up an elevator trying to suppress his goblin nature after this insanely amazing confrontation with Spider-Man.
It's you who's out, Gobby. Out of your mind.
Wrong answer!
Let's take a look at some of the costuming in this scene. All the colors that the cast are wearing give us some insight into what they want and how they are feeling. Norman wears red and blue, Spidey colors, or colors that represent what is good in the film. Norman is actively trying to be good right now and maintain what's left of his mind. Harry is wearing a bit of green and a bit of red. Clearly he is trying to dress like his father. Or maybe Raimi and the costuming team are trying to say that Harry is torn between following his father down an evil path, green for sure represents evil in Spider-Man, or following the good-natured, innocent path of Peter Parker, hence the red tie. Mary Jane is wearing black. Once again, her character is living for a man and not for herself. Look at this scene from earlier.
Why didn't you wear the black dress? I wanted to impress my father. He loves black.
And now look at what she's wearing. This clearly unsettles her considering the fact that she's lived for a shit father her entire life. Her father would call her names and told her she would never amount to anything. Then she lived for Flash, and now she's living for Harry. Even though Harry probably has no ill intention by suggesting she wear the black dress, she is still compromising what she wants for a man. Aunt May is wearing what every sweet old grandma cooking a turkey would wear. Color-wise, she is also wearing blue, which is Peter's #1 choice of color throughout the film. Perhaps the color of innocence. So Peter comes swinging in fresh out of the giant eagle and we get this iconic suspenseful moment. I don't need to say anything about this scene because it's a masterclass in suspense. Enough said. So Peter Parker, being the late fuck that he is, stumbles in after having to
beat an old lady with a stick to get these cranberries.
Notice the colors he is wearing. Norman colors. Goblin green. This is the only time outside of his graduation where Peter wears green. Probably to reflect his conflict with Norman and the battle the two just had. The gang sits down and there is such tension in this scene. The handshake always gives me the heebie-jeebies. Will Norman find out? Will he expose him in front of Aunt May? In front of Mary Jane? In front of Harry? Fuck. There's so much going on in the scene and so much at stake. Real stakes. Not end of the world stakes, but real human stakes. Norman tries to take a little taste of the sweet potatoes before saying grace, but Aunt May comes through laying down the fucking law and establishes her dominance at the table by slapping the shit out of Norman's hand. Notice as soon as there's any conflict with Norman, the goblin strings come into play. Peter forgot the band-aid because he was too busy getting the cranberry sauce, so some red blood starts dripping onto his green shirt. Some red Spider-Man blood. Some red Spider-Man blood that exposes his secret to Norman, exposes his secret to the green Goblin. So now we have multiple conflicts at play. Aunt May is trying to tend to Peter and
do things properly,
while Peter's bullshitting out of his ass trying to protect his secret, while Norman is trying to suppress the goblin from straight up murking Peter at the table. Normie Boy leaves, which sets off the conflict between Norman and Harry, which will end up resulting in a huge conflict between Harry and MJ. Everything is out of Peter's control at this point. Norman, being the abusive father he is, projects his inner turmoil into anger towards Harry, which gives Norman a justification for storming out of Thanksgiving and allows him to say horrible things like this.
A word to the not-so-wise about your little girlfriend. Do what you need to with her, then broom her fast.
Which of course reminds Mary Jane of something her father would say.
It's up to me. You're trash. You're always gonna be trash, just like her.
I have to go to school.
Who's stop?
Mary Jane is wearing the black dress for some creep that she's trying to impress, all because she let herself fall back into the cycle of being a man's woman, rather than her own. Rather than being with someone who loves her for her. This sets Mary Jane off, and now we see where Harry's loyalties really lie. Who Harry is really trying to protect in this scene. Who Harry is really dating MJ for.
Creep is my father, all right? If I'm lucky, I'll become half of what he is. So just keep your mouth shut about stuff you don't understand.
Harry, our sport.
This one tiny Thanksgiving scene not only finalizes the Peter-Norman conflict for the rest of the film, but also establishes Harry's conflict and motivation for the rest of the trilogy. Living for his father, living to impress his father, living to make his father proud, and then eventually living to avenge his father.
Avenge me! No!
Norman's actions in this moment also push Mary Jane towards being with Peter, being with someone who loves her and not the idea of her. Remember, this all takes place in a movie about a fucking kid who can crawl up walls and a man with superhuman strength dressed like a Power Ranger. All these character beats happen in 5 minutes in a traditional human setting, the Thanksgiving dinner table, with some very real emotions and stakes. People ask me all the time about film school.
You would actually get to direct a Jason Todd series if you went to film school. You're a fucking bitch for not going to film school. Why didn't you go to film school, Alex?
Film school? Why do you need film school when Sam Raimi has been teaching the importance of blocking, pacing, costume design, character development, juxtaposition, metaphor, cinematography, and everything anyone would ever want to know about filmmaking and visual storytelling, all for $2 in the bargain bin at your local Best Buy? So happy Thanksgiving from HiTop fucking Films. Thank you, and remember, if you're gonna be thankful for anything, be thankful for the perfect Thanksgiving movie, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. As everyone knows, Stan Lee passed away on the 12th. I want to take the time to thank him for co-creating most of my childhood and remind all of you not to be sad. His creations will live on and his legacy will outlive all of us. He crafted some of the greatest stories of all time, stories that I will tell and show my kids, and that they will tell and show their kids, and then their kids, and then their kids. Stan Lee may have passed away, but his inspiring creativity and passion for storytelling will never die. Thanks, Stan.
You know, I guess one person can make a difference. Enough said.